Welcome back, YouTube. Another episode of Normal Guy Super Life. I am Demetrius Deck, and I will continue walking you down this path of breaking into the cybersecurity world. Today, we're going to focus on a tool that I came across a little over a year ago um, for security compliance. Security compliance also kind of ties into, not kind of ties, does tie directly into governance risk compliance, or GRC. And some time ago, a friend of mine said, "Hey man, like, you actually took the time to build out a PowerPoint presentation on using this tool." Recently, I was in the GAPPS, which is the tool that we'll be working on or working with. I was in their Discord channel, and somebody's like, "Hey, is there any type of documentation or training related to using this thing?" Well, sounds like I need to go ahead and break out that PowerPoint presentation I put together some time ago and kind of record stepping through it. So without further ado, let's break into GApps. I know I mentioned before, once again, here's another reason why, if you don't already have a GitHub account, here's a great reason to get one. GitHub/bmarsh9/GApps. And here gives you a little bit about the tool. Again, it's a security compliance platform, SOC 2, CMMC, ISO 27001, HIPAA, NIST, CSF, 853, etc. All the different compliance frameworks. Definitely take the time, if you so choose, support this guy's cause, because it does take a lot of time to build out a tool, especially something as comprehensive as this. I'll say that it definitely rivals some of the paid tools. So by all means, if you find that this is of use to you, definitely toss some donations his way. Also, like, share, subscribe. Cool. Let's get to it. There are two different ways to use the tool. One being the SaaS app, which I already have a login created for, so that's what I'll be using. You can also download and run your own local Docker instance. We'll get to that another day. But for now, just wanted to put together a basic tutorial on how to use this. Earlier this week, I did do an intro to this and got hung up, and then I finally remembered how to remediate my hang up. So this will be not only a continuation of what we did on Sunday, but also a leave behind tool for future use. So GApps, GApps.darkbanner.com. When you first log in, you'll be asked to create an account. We've already gotten past that. So what I would do, and this is a great way to start, go to tenant users and then create at least 2 users. You're going to need legitimate email addresses, because you'll be sent multi-factor authentication login. So then you're also going to need your password reset stuff. So definitely use real email addresses. Even if you're the same person, it doesn't matter. Just 2 separate email addresses so you can create 2 different users. After you do that, create a tenant. Mine is just named test. It's essentially just to walk through this and do an intro to the tool, what the tool can do for you, and how this can help you in your endeavors to maybe learn about GRC, security compliance standards, etc. Or if you're already a professional and just looking for something that's free, again, create a tenant, go forth and conquer. Pop back to the home screen. Projects. So from here, this is where you'll create your own project. I already have started a NIST CSF project, but click new, input name that you want it to be, your description. This is where you select your specific framework. So NIST cybersecurity framework version 1.1. Yes, current is 2.0, but still 1.1, just for the purposes of having this tool and using it. Great. Next, we will actually, yeah, for the purposes of this, I'll just leave it here. But take note of the other things that are available to you. Another day, maybe we'll pop in and start playing with some of these other frameworks. But for now, we'll do CSF. As you can see, we already have our tenant named, and we'll create. Cool. Before I jump into this, I'll go back to home. One of the things that I do like about this is policies already being preloaded. So if you are working in compliance, be it GRC, trying to create new policies, procedures, or you're just looking for examples of policies and procedures, here's a repository of things already created for you. This says those are created September 20th, 2024, because that's when I created my new tenant, but those policies definitely have been around for some time. A lot of this stuff, I'm sure, is probably more than a year old. But pop in, take a look at them. Incident, or you could say incident response, is probably what I would update this to if I were to implement this in my environment. There's no I in response. Save changes. That has been updated. Cool. Purpose and scope, right? Like some basics. This is pretty cool, right? Key objective of organization's information security program is to focus on detecting information security weaknesses, vulnerabilities, so that incidents and breaches can be prevented whenever possible, right? And feel free to elaborate on that. Or if you have your own already developed within an organization and you want to throw it into this, especially if you're running it in your own local Docker instance, that would be great. If you have anything confidential, you may not want to upload that into a SaaS platform that you don't manage. Just, again, good security policy or good security practices. Any of these other ones? No, nothing in particular that I would say stands out to me. If you're new to the tool, definitely take the time to go through the policies. If you're new to the industry, definitely take time to look through the policies, and on your journey, look at how governance ties into all the other categories of the cybersecurity framework, because that's really where your procedures and your actions, right, like your technical implementation, your administrative controls, all derive from your governance and your policies. So we'll go back home. Frameworks, again, we already know what's here, so no surprise there. Policies, we already touched on. Settings, not authorized. So SaaS solution, no questions from me. Questionnaires, if you were to create a new questionnaire, I look at this in terms of being a third-party assessor. So if you had a template for questionnaires, if you're doing controls assessments, this would be a great way to do so. There you go. And you can start by creating vendors, what framework you're going to use, and then eventually create your questionnaires. I won't go that far in depth. I'm going to keep this rather basic, but maybe next time out we'll dive a little bit deeper into this. Go back home. We already know controls. Well, actually, we didn't look at controls. We looked at frameworks. Does view controls work? Well, I guess, you kind of know what controls are there based on the frameworks that are there. Okay, so I'll leave it at that for now. Evidence, and this is where I kind of got hung up the other day. So for all your controls, subcontrols, you're going to need to address each individual one with evidence on how those control implementations are met, assuming that those controls are implemented. So new, whatever you're going to label the evidence as, files that you would upload. And essentially what I did here was description, it's certification, group or category AT, awareness and training. This is my cert for CISA, and then just uploaded an image of the certification. So I'll hit update. I've already done it. Oh, wait. Why did that not save? That's interesting. File to upload. And there is an updated CISA certification. Evidence updated. Cool. And we'll come back to this later. Refresh, make sure that it's saved. We can see that we have one file. Great. Let's get back to regularly scheduled programming here. So we'll go back to projects, give this a minute, the new one that I just created. So let's take a look at the summary page. And this is a little bit different from last year when I started using this. And I do like the way that they've cleaned things up, put a little bit more on the home page, or aka the summary page, where this kind of tells you things that you need to do really to get started. So now that we're here and we've selected our CSF, or the NIST CSF as our compliance framework that we want to meet, this is status not started. Clearly nothing is complete. We have nothing implemented, and we haven't allocated any evidence as of yet. And this is what we'll come back to later. Also, what will help you, kind of a shortcut, so to speak. So let's just say you're one person, you're learning to use this tool. My suggestion is going to be open in another web browser and log in with that second user, because what you're going to need is one person who is essentially the manager or your local assessor, and then you're also going to need an auditor and whoever the control owner. So let's just say if you're the internal person using that, you can't audit your own work, and that's where I got hung up on Sunday. I'm like, why can I not attach the evidence? What's going on here? And then I remembered, oh yeah, the auditor can't attach the evidence because I was logged in as the auditor when I was doing the demo. So the control owner can attach the evidence, and then the auditor can review it. So log in as two different people if you're not working in a team. If you're working in a team and you're actually doing this real world or something simulated, much easier. So let's get started here. Number one, let's add users. So project name, we'll leave project description, auditor enabled, so read, scratch, patch, or write auditor notes, etc. So tag, I don't think I need to add anything specific as far as like custom tags, and then we'll just do add user. So contributor, I'll say will be that guy, and then add another user, call him the auditor, and it'll be that guy. So two different people, two different roles. Great. And we are currently logged in as the auditor. So let me reverse this. I guess I could have done that without deleting. Cool. There we go. That'll make life a little bit easier. Let's see. Now, in the other login, let's make sure that I can see the project. Cool. Yep, it's there. We have our 2 members assigned. Awesome. So that is working as intended. Refresh data. If we pop back here to our home, members added, we got a green checkbox. I like it. Add policy. Add policy. Pick a policy. I landed on cyber. Add policy. Refresh. Now we need to accept the policy. Oh, I moved too quickly. We can see that it's here, but we don't have a green checkbox as the policy has not been accepted, and we don't have a reviewer as of yet. So we'll double check, we'll double click. Review. So we'll call it review by the audit. No, let's do this. Keep it streamlined. And we'll say that, yes, I've accepted it. From here, I could view it if need be. I guess I selected the policy that is not linked in some way, shape, or form. Anywho, that's how it should work. Policy accepted, yes. We'll update. We got the green checkbox. Close. Awesome. I'll leave it at that. I'll be happy. Let's go back to summary. Green checkbox. I'm good. Go back to policy review. Now the question becomes, who's the reviewer? Let's see if that's an auditor thing. Up, close. Let's pop in. This is the auditor. So now auditor has green checkbox as this has been reviewed. Okay, cool, good. So it did work as intended. Just a little slow in terms of updating, but actually that makes sense that the auditor can see that who the policy reviewer is, but the person that implemented it didn't necessarily see that. Okay, I can buy that. Add an auditor. We already have our auditor, so I don't need to add an auditor. Also, if you're only a contributor, you won't be adding the auditor. If we go back to our summary page here, let's see. No, I already had an auditor, so Logic's saying that I would need to add one. Tech fails. Summary, risk register. Here you could create your risk register. We'll call it again test. What is the risk? If you had a risk, something that was low, medium, or low, moderate, high, critical. Let's just say we had an unremediated vulnerability, and that vulnerability was a critical finding. Status, if it's something that's new, cool, that would be a new risk. Priority, you probably want to make that a high one. Create. And then we can see risk is red, the priority is red. Now, let's just say this is in progress. It's been assigned to somebody. Cool, let's refresh the data. Also, oh, hold on a second. I'm looking at this as the auditor instead of the standard user. My apologies. Sorry for the back and forth if that's making you a little confused, but make it a little bit easier for me. Now, refresh data. Contributor, let's see if they can add a risk to the risk register. We'll call it, oh, must have hit caps lock. Open loan, scan results. Risk, we'll call this one high. This can be new. Priority, we'll still make it high. And we'll create this. Looks like data is refreshing. And data is refreshing on the server. So while that's refreshing, let's go back to our summary. We can see that a risk register was created. Still weird that this hasn't updated. Maybe a nuance of the tool itself. Cool. But let's get to what I consider to be the real meat and potatoes of this. So our controls. So the 23, if you want to say control families, categories, for the NIST CSF version 1.1. So data security analysis, improvement, information protection, etc. Like you can go through all of these. Governance, interesting, to talk about governance, especially in relation to the tool and what we're doing here. Do you have organizational cybersecurity policy that is established and communicated? At this point, you should probably be able to say, yes, we did have a cyber policy that we did accept and did implement. So now that we're on this control, technically we do have evidence, but we would just need to add it. But to get started on this control, we did select the subcontrol. So actually, let me go back. So this is the subcontrol ID.gv, identification and governance. And this is number 1. So it's missing an owner. So we'll make this guy the owner, as that is the person that is the contributor. Right. Keep myself honest here. Yes. Operator, we'll leave it the same. We'll just say that this person is the system ISSO. So they're the ones going to be responsible for implementing the controls. They're also the system owner, data owner, etc. And we'll say that this has been partially implemented. Very quickly, we can see we have a 50% completion. Let's go back to control. And we see we still have an X because it's not fully implemented. And we don't have any evidence. Okay. What I want to do, and then you can read the details for all these other controls. Essentially, it becomes the same process over and over again down the line. What I did on Sunday was awareness and training. And then again, click the subcontrols. All users are trained, privileged. Users understand their roles and responsibilities. So different pieces of evidence that you can provide. I went a little more with the senior executives just because of wanting to implement the CISA certification as being my evidence of understanding role of responsibility. I think that certification ties to a senior level person, or if you had CISSP or something of the sorts, right? Like that would say, or you pick your SAN certification that relates to GRC. I would say that that's something that would be equivalent. Or if you look at the DoD, was it 8140 now? It used to be 8570. 80, 40, whatever it is. I forget. Things are always changing. More importantly, IAT or IAM level 2, level 3 tells you exactly what certifications fall in line with that. And then you can upload a copy of the certification and then say, hey, here's how we're going to satisfy this control. So again, we'll give the same owner, same operator. We'll say fully implemented. We can quickly see that this popped to 100. And then now we get to evidence. And this is where I messed up on Sunday because I was running as the auditor instead of being in the contributor role. So now I can attach evidence that has been created. Here's the evidence that was created, being the cert. Update, evidence has been updated. So this should be saved. We have a green checkbox here. Now let's go back to overview. Let's close this. We can filter, and let's see if we can filter by having evidence. Okay, so that didn't update just yet. Give a refresh, see what we got. Still didn't refresh. Interesting. Even though we said, hey, did it not, for whatever reason, it didn't save. True. Goodness gracious. I'm just moving too quickly. Patience, sir. Patience, patience, patience. Have patience. On another note, patience is a virtue, and having patience in this field is very much important. Let's take a look at this from the auditor side. So we'll drag this back over. Let's go to controls, awareness and training. Interesting that this says not started. Huh. Very interesting. Maybe this is just running a little bit slower than I thought. Okay. Most importantly, we were able to see that we did attach the has evidence complete, true. There are no other items that are needed. Okay, great. Auditor feedback. Since we have not done anything with the auditor role yet, so let's just say we are the InfoSec team and ready for the auditor, and we'll say notes. Please review evidence provided. Add. Notes updated. We can close that. Cool. Close this. So we did get an update here. All right, there we go. My apologies for just being impatient. It did finally update. So now that we're back here, we can see we have an implementation of 0.54%. Evidence collection, 0.87%. And still add an auditor. That one's bothering me just a little bit. Let's come over here. All right, so we're seeing the same data on the auditor role now. I don't need a custom tag. Save. Cool. Go back to summary. And let's go back to our risk register. I do want to take a look at this because this open vuln was not created by the auditor. So let's just say this is in progress and we can provide an update. Risk register updated. Oh, report, they're still working on it. So we can come back to that. No comments, ready for us to read. Cool. We can, oh, that's pretty neat. Didn't realize that that was even a drop down. Okay, let's go in and review the evidence. And I'm wondering why this is saying not started. Interesting, because technically it is, but let's review the subcontrols. Interesting, because this does have evidence. Evidence updated. We can look at the evidence. You see that it's here. That image is loading. And interesting that this is owner, operator. Well, I can't make those changes because it's the auditor role, which that's fair. Auditor feedback. Interesting. I guess maybe it just hasn't fully updated where this is interesting. Well, once again, patience, and also working with open source tooling sometimes just a little slow. Also SaaS solutions as well, so that could be just a little slow. Yeah, that's weird that this is showing something that's somewhat inaccurate. Anyway, we'll go back to our user. That's my auditor. Wonder if I swap this. Let's see if that helps. Nope, we have the auditor contributor. Let's go back, summary, refresh data. And we're still not getting a green check. Oh, I don't know. Unfortunately, it's not my tool. I don't have backend access to see what's going on and why this is not updating. But what I would like to do is run through and make these updates. We'll see that that's fully implemented. We'll also do the same here. I don't need to add anything. I didn't mean to close the control. make all of these updates awesome. And it's saying that it has the evidence that we've already attached. Go back. Once again, we can say fully implemented, control updated, close, and we can see that this data is refreshing. So while this is working, what I want to do is pop back to the other project that I started. And then my roles are kind of reversed, where this user should be the contributor and the other user is the auditor. So let's go to our controls, and we can see awareness and training is in progress. We can see implementation is 100%. We can see that the evidence has been accepted. Go to the evidence. We can see that, yes, it was the cert. What should be an image is here. So the system works. So let's, out of curiosity, up, and we can see a comment from the auditor, need evidence. And then close this. Who are we right now? So that's the editor, or auditor, excuse me. All right, so with roles reversed, let's go back to that other project. We'll explore. Go back to our controls, subcontrols, evidence, and let's essentially, we can just reuse the same thing. Update, hit save, go back to overview, go back to control, privilege user, update, attach evidence, use the same thing, save. And again, demonstration purposes, you would not do this in the real world. That would not be a real practice that you would do. Sometimes, yes, you may be able to use the same evidence for a number of things, but more often than not, no, it'll be different evidence that you're utilizing. Attach evidence, once again, use that. Overview, go back to control home, and then one more time. Fully implemented, evidence, attach evidence, update, update. All right, maybe I'm moving a little too quickly. Our evidence count did increase. That's great. I like that. Pop back in. Subcontrols. So now we do have this as fully implemented. These are missing evidence. So let's go back to our auditor role for this one. Subcontrols. Let's take a look at the evidence. Auditor feedback. Training docs have been provided. Save. It errored out again. Okay. All right, save. All right, more errors. My apologies. Unfortunately, I'm not in control of that. Close. Ooh, I know what I need to do. Go to evidence. Evidence. This should not be missing, but okay. Evidence is updated. Projects. Okay, and you can see that we have made some progress here. I did not create a risk register over here yet, so that's true. Let me accept this password policy. I can update that. Go back to summary, refresh data. Oh, this is actually running in auditor mode. Should probably be doing those things from the non-auditor mode. Refresh data. There we go. We got the green check mark for policies. I do have an auditor, which we know that. So we do see auditor enabled being true. Have our two policies. We are in progress, and evidence has been collected. Evidence has been updated. Evidence collection, 20%. Auditor feedback, we're good there. So that is really about it. Cool. So thank you. Hopefully this has been helpful. My apologies for the challenges. Unfortunately, I don't own it, just a proponent of it. I do believe it's a great tool and a great way to get started. I would also encourage those that are new to GRC, new to NIST compliance, also download the NIST 853 controls crosswalk, or the mapping between NIST CSF and 853. NIST has a whole host of documentation that is free to the community. Definitely take the time, read up on their special publications, and maybe see how you can find your way into the IT and cybersecurity space. Thank you again for your time. I'm Demetrius Deck, Normal Guy Super Life.